What's stopping you from being in a relationship? I don't get asked out and I don't chase, man. If someone comes into my life and we click, it would be a blessing, but I'm not actively seeking it out. I'm also out of college and not surrounded by a lot of people my age all the time. I've become a little isolated because of that. I could go sit at a bar and position myself to be approached, but that's just not me. I've thought about dating apps, but it feels like being put in a meat market. So it will happen organically or not at all. Then check me out all the time in public, and I do get the occasional passing comment, but I get no genuine, innocent interest. Story 2. I'd rather be single and lonely than be in a relationship and stressed. I've had 2 very long-term relationships, 7 and 4 years, and a few medium to long-term ones. Quite frankly, I'm just bored of spending that much time with someone, only for it to end at some point. The world seems way too superficial for relationships nowadays anyway. Dating is a minefield, and not many people see things through. There's so much choice, so it's hard to blame people, but I'm a hopeless romantic and a monogamist at heart, and today's dating culture just isn't that. I've been celibate for over 2 years, and honestly, I'm kind of thriving. Story 3. They are exhausting. This may sound pessimistic, but it's the truth. Best case scenario, you both support each other and you love them so much that you worry about them out of care. Worst case scenario, they're the reason behind your worrying. I'm so free without a relationship. I don't have to go to my 2 divorced parents' houses and their parents' often divorced too houses every holiday. I don't have to think about how my choices will affect someone else's daily life. I don't want to be married and I don't want to have kids. Sometimes I'm lonely, but that's mostly solved by a quick fooling around and a few days of hanging out with my close friends. I'm sure I'll feel differently when parents are no longer around. They are luckily a huge support in my life. I also have siblings that I'm close with. Just don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, other than splitting rent. I love my own company. I think my idea of an ideal relationship is ultimately unrealistic. If I managed to meet someone I really cared for, maybe I would rethink it. Story 4. Trauma. My ex hurt me and my family. Even with my family being gone now and safe from people like her, I prefer to lie about my situation. I tell women that I'm homeless and don't think it's fair to date someone in my position. Truth is, I'll never let anyone mistreat me like that again. Someone would have to be an almost perfect Christian woman from ancient times because, sadly, everyone I've dated since has too much in common with the toxicity and cruelty I endured. She tried to end my grandma, stole my car, destroyed things, and stalked me. She was beautiful, so other people tried to justify her behavior. I got so tired of it that I said, go on, date her then. I knew there was a dramatic shift in my life, and I genuinely felt happy when someone else got her pregnant and she finally left me alone. Story 5. I would love to be in a relationship, but I'm extremely ugly, and that seems to be the only thing that matters to anyone. I don't mean that everyone wants a model. I know they don't. Average, okay, or cute people do alright for themselves, too. I mean, I am ugly. As in, I can't be in photographs without people wanting to either cover me up or do everything they can to fix it, and people are repelled by the thought of touching me. There aren't that many people who are actually a 1 or 2 on the look scale. Most sit in the middle somewhere. But those of us at the bottom are living a much lonelier, very different life than anyone who's not extremely ugly cannot imagine. We're basically not human. Story 6. For me, it's a feeling of being unworthy of a partner because I can't meaningfully contribute to a household. This is due to my disability, lack of income, and overall feeling of being a burden on my family and disability service worker. That, and I'm really unsure of what I want in a partner. Do I want a man, a woman? Do I want someone I can feel comfortable sharing my more shameful interests with? Will I drive them away because I can't bring in an income or because I'm not even fully capable of doing housework or truly taking care of myself? And knowing what I want and feeling uncertain of what I even deserve both get in the way. Story 7. The women I'm interested in. In all seriousness, that last relationship made my insecurities worse. I don't mind being alone, but I do mind how constantly on the edge my last few relationships made me. I like coming home and just doing my own thing, without being forced to be social or to go out and do stuff. During more difficult times, it would be great to have someone to support me and confide in, but the last person I dated dumped me when I needed her just once, because I wasn't perfect for her, whom I had dragged through a load of problems so many times. I didn't mind her issues when I met her because she was a fantastic person behind it all and we were a great team. But that one stung. She wanted to remain friends. I did not. Story 8. The mix of my diagnosed social anxiety and a bad case of resting witch face, for sure. My social anxiety is pretty severe. I'm one of those people who rehearses literally every sentence that comes out of my mouth about 50 times, after overthinking it 500 times, of course. Can't even say hi to strangers unless they talk to me first, but the resting witch face? Make sure that won't happen 90% of the time. That's a classic story of, I'm generally too scared to talk to people, and they're generally too scared to talk to me. I also have an autism diagnosis, so you can add an inability to read certain neurotypical body language to the mix. I can read some of it, but certain things just go over my head because of how my brain is wired. In general, people passing by me are just people, but as a goth music fan who dresses the part, I can't for the life of me tell the difference between an, a scary evil weirdo, I'm just going to pretend she doesn't exist kind of stare, and an, I'm actually into you but too scared to talk to you kind of stare. And let's just say the mainstream neurotypical folks have yet to properly explain that difference to my autistic goth self. I would make the first move, but I've scoured articles on the matter for years, trying to find an explanation or some other associated body language sign that would allow me to tell the difference, but I haven't found a clear answer yet. Also, I'm usually too exhausted from both that and deep trauma to instantly put on my, oh crap, I suddenly have to talk to a neurotypical person outside of a safe space mask if someone says hi to me. I'm used to explaining things from my on and off volunteer work, but I just need a few seconds to flip that mental switch from I'm just generally existing in this space and people are being weirdos for no reason, as always, to educator mode, on the spot, if it comes up in conversation. Story 9. As a woman, I've found that a lot of men, not all, but a lot, just suck. Too many get overly creepy within the first few messages. For example, one guy jokingly asked me to do his laundry when I told him I was doing mine. We'd never met in person and had barely been talking for a day. I said no, he asked if I wanted to be a good girlfriend. I told him he wasn't even a good acquaintance and ended it. Another guy talked about being a flat earther and said that if I wanted a rich man, I had to market myself for marriage. He even claimed a woman's prime was from ages 15 to 26, while a man's was in his 40s. I was 27 and he was 31. All this was in a single conversation. This, coupled with the world being on fire and me just trying to get my own crap together, is simply too much. Makes me sad. I genuinely want to be with someone. I've wanted to get married and have kids since I was 5 years old. I'm 31 now, but all of that is marred by life and society's BS. Story 10. I ended a mostly healthy 3-year relationship earlier this year because we just weren't compatible in the long run. We've remained friends. Now I'm enjoying being single and dating both men and women. I was too afraid to explore dating women in my 20s, but now in my 30s, I'm here for it. I don't really want to get locked down into something serious at this moment. I had mind-blowing intimacy with a man visiting my city last weekend, and then fantasy intimacy last night with a woman I've been crushing on for years. I'm really enjoying this freedom. I don't want kids. I have a great, well-paying job and a nice apartment. I feel complete on my own. Story 11. I've had too many awful experiences in relationships. I'm too naive, too trusting, and too willing to give others the benefit of the doubt. I seem to attract people who are manipulative, narcissistic, and chronic liars. Not to mention those with chronic mental illnesses. I thought I found someone last year, but looking back at how he acted, there were red flags along the way that I couldn't see until I cut him and the community we met through out of my life completely this week. I loved him. I really did, but I don't know if he actually loved me back. So I've decided to stop trying. I'll work to heal from the trauma this last experience brought me, but I'm done with trying to seek any sort of romantic relationship. I've learned my lesson that I'm better off alone. Story 12. My ailing health and a progressing disability are the reasons. It's a long story. I actually had the perfect relationship. It took me 7 months to get her to leave because of the amount of trauma she was experiencing from seeing everything happen to me. With my prognosis being what it is, she would have ended up alone and dealing with it all. Yeah, I'm not doing that again. That was far worse than any of the cruel relationships I've been a victim of, and trust me, I have some scars. Anyway, folks, I have a sense of humor. You should too. Life is weird. Story 13. I'm in a long-distance relationship, so we see each other here and there, but I mostly live by myself. I wouldn't be in a normal relationship. And I've told my girlfriend that. I'm only comfortable with long distance because having another person in my everyday life is too much noise. I like waking up by myself, with no talking, no plans, nothing. Just me, breakfast, and coffee. And I like to chill and play games, just relaxing. It's the same in the evening before bed. When I have people here, I never relax. For some reason, I don't relax with other people, so after a visit, I'm tired and feel like I need to recover. Story 14. I personally have too much healing to do first. I've been avoiding it, but I recently got out of a long-term relationship where I felt I gave way too much of myself, and it still ended, partially due to circumstantial things, but there were also underlying issues that shouldn't be ignored. Started going to therapy for both that relationship and previous trauma, started a new and better job, and moved to a new city. I'm on my way, but I absolutely want to be ready when the next person comes along. Of course, it sucks, and I miss being in a relationship, but I don't miss how it felt in the last one. I'm learning to set boundaries and process things I've been avoiding. I think I'll be much better off for it. I've got to also be Mr. Right when Mrs. Right comes along, you know? If you read this far, thank you. Story 15. How? I'm a 24-year-old male. I ride a motorcycle, smoke, and listen to metal, so there are stereotypes about me. Aside from 2 metal festivals, one of which I volunteer at, I don't go out unless it's for a motorcycle ride. Dating sites do nothing but lower my self-esteem even more. And even if I get a match, it's either with a scam profile or someone who doesn't seem interested. I'm not the type of person to just ask a stranger for the number. I have low self-esteem and I'm afraid of being turned down, ridiculed, or even worse, being seen as a creep. Story 16. Nobody has ever found me attractive. Plus, I'm trans and most people find that repulsive. While most trans people tend to date each other, even they find me unattractive. I'm literally a tall goth and yet I'm still nobody's type, except for people who assume I have no self-respect or confidence and think they can get away with treating me poorly. 2 relationships ago, I almost got terminated. so I'm never settling for someone who wants to exploit me again. When your only dating prospects are people who see you as a walking object, because their only exposure to trans people is corn and they don't treat you with respect, or it's people who are going to take advantage of you, then you're screwed, and not in the fun way. If the choice is an extremely unhealthy relationship or no relationship at all, I choose the latter. Story 17. I have ADHD and I'm too complicated. I'm currently seeing someone who's understanding, but it's not easy. Typically, I don't like making plans, but I also don't like not having enough notice to do things. I need time alone, but I can't tell you when that time will be. I'm either completely emotionless or have intense emotions. I'm selfish, in a way, but I don't do it on purpose. I'll do anything a friend needs me to do, but I just won't think to grab you something if I go to the shop, for example. I hate small talk. I don't look at people when they speak because I find eye contact uncomfortable, and I'll be more interested in what the pigeon down the road is eating or what shoes that guy's wearing because they don't fit the weather. Most people don't like me for the first few months, and then I think they realize I'm a bit different, and then they do. I hate holidays, sitting in an airport, sitting on a plane, not having all my things when I'm away and not knowing where I can get creature comforts. I probably got a sprinkle of autism on top of everything else. Story 18. Emotionally unavailable. 7 years ago, I was dating a girl and ended up in a DUI car accident after a work event. It was a bad accident. It messed me up physically for a few years and mentally for a few more. I went to prison because the accident was determined to be my fault. I lost all the money I'd ever saved, which strained my relationship, so we broke up. Left me to start all over. Now I'm on probation with an ignition interlock device in my car for 2 more years. I'm in grad school for computer science, trying to claw my way back. First and foremost, I need to focus on myself and rebuilding what I lost. Second, I've never met any woman who would want to attach herself to that much baggage. Simply put, at this time in my life, an objective evaluation would be he's a risk, regardless of my personality, work ethic, or anything else. Also, even if I wanted a relationship, I can't afford to be emotional and have distractions. Frankly, these kinds of journeys are ones men do alone. Story 19. You'd have to ask every woman I've asked out over the last decade, I guess. My female friends say I have a great personality, but one of them straight up said it's because I'm short. Honestly, a decade of constant rejection taught me that I'm fundamentally unlovable. I did nearly everything dating advice tells you to do, and it didn't yield any results. These days, the idea of a relationship or approaching someone gives me a physical sinking feeling in my chest. When my friends offer to be a wingman, I beg them to just drop it because I don't want to be rejected again. I get really upset or even angry if someone asks me what I've tried or if we're out and they try to get me to talk to someone. I don't think I can mentally handle another rejection. The last time I asked someone I really liked out was 2 years ago, and it went so poorly that I was out of my mental headspace for nearly a year. No more. I get it, and the message has been received loud and clear. I don't know what women want in their men, but whatever it is, I don't have it. I won't have it, and it cannot be bought or learned. I'm just deficient, ugly, and unlovable, and that's the way I was born. Story 20. Most people are very unaware of themselves and won't work on themselves. Most people in my area are unattractive and are losers. Dating apps are awful, and unless I pay, I won't have a remote chance of finding anyone serious and wholesome. There's zero opportunity to see someone attractive and chat them up. Being gay doesn't help. And women also fail to take the initiative to pursue you, and they tell themselves, well, they must be not worth it because they didn't take the time to pursue me. That idea has always made women seem a bit sociopathic or narcissistic to me. Also, I have no money, and most people couldn't care less about you if you have no money or nothing significant to offer them. Story 21. My perspective has always been to stick with one person. I was 18 the first time I was with someone. I was young and naive and didn't know the difference between a lot of things. I forgave unforgivable things and had anger issues. I had a lot of differences, and I was also to blame. It ended with her cheating on me with her ex-boyfriend during Christmas. When I was 20, I met an amazing girl who made me a better person and helped me realize what love actually was. However, she was confused about what she wanted from herself, so we parted ways. After that relationship ended, I realized what I truly need from a partner. Now, at 21, I started looking at things from a better point of view. I'm not someone who is made for solitude, but until I find someone who's willing to work on herself and our relationship, I'd prefer the tag of being happily single. As they say, expect the unexpected. Story 22. I have the worst situation of all people here. I'm 27, and while I may be handsome, I have $24,000 in debt and live with my mother. If I didn't, I wouldn't be able to pay it off in 2 years. We live in a small flat with pathological neighbors and have a driver's license, but no car. Even when I see girls on the street smiling at me, I feel like I don't deserve love unless I have some money. When I do move out, it will be even harder because apartments aren't cheap at all, and I would feel ashamed to have someone come over. That's why for most of my life, I've never invited anyone over, let alone hosted a party or anything like that. All my life, I was ashamed of my apartment. When I did move out, I fell into debt because life was so expensive that it took all my energy, leaving no room for enjoyment or positive feelings like love. It's a sad life. I can't afford love even when girls are right around the corner. This has been happening my whole life. All I could do was sleep with girls at their places, but they were never my girlfriends because I was always ashamed of where I lived and what my life was like. That's also why I don't invite people into my life. I'm poor and live in a poor, small place. Story 23. I'm in a relationship with someone who's always there for me and genuinely wants me to be successful in my goals. There's no jealousy between us, and we only want the best for each other. This is truly an amazing relationship, and I've waited all my life for what I call true love. All kinds of love are a part of it, but until you find it, you won't know what I mean. This is happening later in my life, but I'm just so glad that I've found this person. The love of my life. Story 24. Rejection after rejection. The most recent one came out of nowhere from a guy I went to a music festival with, who's also a coach at my gym and used to be my neighbor. We were in the middle of talking about what to do with an extra ticket to this music festival, and he responded to my text with a long paragraph about how he gets vibes that I want to be more than friends and that he doesn't want that. He even tried to give me an out from the music festival, even though I'd bought my own ticket. When I asked what I said or did that gave him these vibes, his response was, nothing in particular, that he could be oblivious and I've been talking about being single and lonely a lot. In short, I got rejected out of nowhere, which is a new low for me. Anyway, I'm done chasing men. I'm also trying to learn about my own counterdependency because I know exactly where it stems from. I'd rather be alone, and in some cases, that's for the worse. I've witnessed too many negative things and downsides in other relationships, and in my own attempts to be in one that it's just not worth it. I would love to know what it's like to be loved, and I know I deserve it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get it. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 25. Emotionally unavailable women who push my boundaries and still demand my emotional labor without any reciprocation. They then try to publicly punish me when I protect myself with reasonable boundaries. Not all women are like this, but as a male victim, women who fake emotional unavailability to gain leverage are a major trigger for me. The most recent experience showed me that even though people are quick to parrot the sexist stereotype that women mature faster, I'm still the one who desires and initiates emotional closeness before committing romantically. This recent experience left me in shock after a 31-year-old woman did nothing but emotionally bait me for validation and pry about my dating history after I set a friendship boundary. On multiple occasions, she triangulated with other acquaintances to publicly shame me for finally asking her to stop messaging me about personal matters. A public expression of her retaliation occurred during a college-level lab session. With her being an older woman, people began to suspect I'd pestered her after she spoke to the only other male in her class. I have no idea what she said, but later that week, the same guy confronted me and told me to stay away from her. I responded, "Nothing is going on between me and her. Don't worry." He then threatened me if I upset her again. I've been studying with other girls in the class, which is how she and I met and started studying together one-on-one. When the other girls asked about the tantrum, I told them what the other guy said to me in the parking lot. The girls then confronted him and explained that he didn't know what was going on between us. Never apologized, but my study group told me that if she tried to claim mistreatment, they would vouch that I was nothing but respectful and helpful during our study sessions. The other guy also started avoiding the first girl who caused the scene. For the record, I didn't approach or even say hi to her after I set my final boundary. What happened was that we went to a college with only 2 lab models and a limited time to use them. After she agreed over text that we would be solely academic acquaintances, I approached the model she was already at. I guess she didn't like that, so she got the only other guy in the class to stand between us. Meanwhile, other people followed my lead and came to use the model. I was clear about my boundaries, and she agreed to them over text, then basically threw a tantrum in person and played the victim. It took me 2 years to get my confidence back and overcome the anxiety. Leading study groups with nothing but female classmates was a huge milestone. Now I don't even want to do anything with women one-on-one ever again. Story 26. I'm 28 years old and I feel like a failure. I was overprotected my whole life. Never taught basic things like how to drive, and now I hate myself for it. I constantly compare myself to others, and all I feel is shame. My ex left me because I wasn't mature enough. I was faithful, I cared for her and gave her everything. When I lost my job, she humiliated me. I have ADHD and a mind that doesn't give me a single day of peace. I have no self-esteem, motivation, or energy. The pain I feel every day is too strong. No psychologist or psychiatrist has been able to help me, and no one sees what I carry inside. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. It's an enormous pain. Because of all this, even though I'd like to meet someone, I can't. I have no chance. I'm not, nor do I feel like a good choice for any woman. I feel like a worthless piece of trash. The worst part is, I don't know how to get out of this. Story 27. I have niche and feminine interests, and sometimes have feminine leanings in how I present myself and my mannerisms. I also have morals and struggle to tolerate people who lack basic courtesy for others, which makes it exceedingly difficult to find people I'd even want to be acquainted with. This also means I have a pretty small social circle and don't know any straight women. I socialize when opportunities arise at my university, but it's rare for much to come of it. I'm pretty sure these are my main problems since I'm actually good looking, according to me and a bunch of gay guys. Funny, according to me and more than half the people I see regularly. Kind, not sure if this is a trait people like, but it is positive, and I'm in school for something prestigious. Story 28. Being married put a stop to it for sure, but prior to that, there was a 12-year window between my first divorce and meeting my now wife where I saw no one. I used to say that my reason for being single was that my self-worth was lower than my standards. Essentially, I believe that anyone willing to date me would have to be either too crazy or too unappealing for me to be attracted to. So eventually, I decided to work on myself and finally put myself out there. Story 29. Nothing. I just don't think it's worth the effort anymore. If I find someone cool, that's great, but I'm not actively seeking it out. Last year, I tried really hard to work on myself and met almost all of my goals, which is awesome. Lost a bunch of weight, got a good pay raise, and did lots of stuff I was too nervous to do before, like traveling and going to events, movies, or restaurants by myself. I tried hard to do things I thought would impress people. In hindsight, I'm proud of myself, and it was a great year of self-improvement. But dating just sucked. Saw lots of lying, disinterest, selfish behavior, and a general lack of effort. I met a couple of cool women, but I just didn't feel a spark. It put me in a bad mental space and was exhausting. So now I'm just doing my own thing, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm still happier now than I was then. Story 30. I am disabled, can't work, and on welfare. This creates a lot of stigma because most gay men around my age, 28 to 30, have careers, are making big plans, or are much farther ahead in life than I am. If I do find a guy who just wants a relationship and not to build a life together, my life situation makes this very difficult since I can't get married or I'll lose my medical insurance. They are often turned off because I conceal carry. A lot of gay guys don't like firearms. Feels like one obstacle after another. I'm 28 and I've never had a relationship because of these issues. However, I can get casual ones without a problem, which should be nice, but is annoying sometimes. Story 31. I'm very picky. If it has to be a man, I prefer someone between 5'7" and 6. A little chubby or a little skinny is okay, as long as you take care of yourself. I have a fantasy for insecure boys. You need to have a lot of patience because I'm a yapper, and sometimes I'm shy and introverted, while other times I'm bold and extroverted. If you have acne, that's cute. Glasses are a bonus. If you don't know something, don't act like you do, idiot. League of Legends is banned for my standards. If you've cheated once, would leave a girl for me, or were the other man, don't even talk to me, you disgusting little crap. If you say things like, but I'm too ugly, you deserve better than someone like me, or no one likes me, just shut up. Good hygiene is a must. I'm not interested in stigma or Riz behavior. If you have a lot of questions, I'll answer every single one. The same goes for overthinking. I'll over-explain everything. If you're obsessive, I like it, but know your limits. Don't ask me to cut off my girl best friend. I would marry her if I were a man. Teasing is my favorite way to fall in love, so use it wisely. I'll stop here. Story 32. I'm 63 and I've been a widow since I was 36. I never brought men home because I didn't want to fall in love, and I was upfront about that from the beginning. I didn't want my children to meet just anyone. As soon as I heard I love you, my feelings instantly switched and it was over. My husband passing was traumatic, and we were married on my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary. I've only loved one man since, but he turned out to be a bit cray-cray and used substances, so that was a no-go for me. I couldn't risk my kids losing both parents. Although I'm open to meeting someone, I haven't found any man who I feel is interesting. Someone who makes your heart beat fast just when they call. I'm open to meeting someone who has a job, is not on substances or an alcoholic, and likes Harleys. I enjoy writing. I took the class to get a license and it was fun, though harder than I thought. I never saved enough to buy one, and my kids were a hard no. I'm looking for someone who's secure in himself and doesn't need constant compliments. I also like a man I can't boss around. It's a test, I know. I enjoy watching movies, hiking, dancing, and just hanging out. Flying kites, striving to find a new spot for a picnic, and having someone who can think of fun things to do are all important to me. So far, I haven't met anyone like that. No one who can't have a wife. Wish me luck. I need it. It's lonely a lot of the time, but I'd rather be lonely by myself than with someone who is fake. That's just my opinion. Story 33. I've seen so many breakups and watched as almost all of my uncles and aunts have been remarried. My parents were the last ones standing until about 9 years ago. I didn't think it took a toll on us, but most of my siblings have trust issues because of our past experiences observing our family's relationships end, mostly due to cheating. Social media makes it so easy to hide things and be deceitful. I never thought I'd get cheated on until I found out my ex had 2 phones, 3 Snapchats, 2 Instagrams, and a deactivated Facebook. I've come to terms with the fact that I wanted to get married, but to the right person. For now, dating would only lower my self-esteem and make me more anxious than I already am on a daily basis. I'll just wait and let it find me. Story 34. The reason is that I know what the general dating pool is like, and I don't want to go to places I dislike, just ask random women for their number or social media. Dating apps are pretty much useless. I've used them for a few years on and off, and the pool where I live is both small and not great. Random direct messages can work, but you have to prepare yourself for the mental toll on your self-esteem when most women leave you on scene or don't even check what you wrote. If you have a lot of friends, you might find someone, but that's assuming you have many friends and are constantly mixing friend groups. Burnout. I'm so burnt out from trying that I've subconsciously decided the effort isn't worth the gain. Other crucial parts of my life are going well, so I can focus on improving those factors even more or working on other aspects of my life. Story 35. Well, you go on one or more apps looking for a relationship. You go on a date, get excited about someone because it goes well, and go on a few more, maybe even have intimacy with them. Then they tell you they aren't looking for a relationship right now. Cool. Neat. Time to move on. You go on another date. You like them, but there's no spark. You move on. You go out again. It goes well. You go on a few more. Maybe have intimacy with them until they tell you they aren't looking for a relationship right now. Cool, neat, time to move on. You go out again. It goes well. You go on a few more, and this time you ask them directly. Same answer. You go out again. It goes well. You ask them directly after the first date. Same answer. You ask them directly before the date. Oh, I'm looking for a relationship. You get excited because they want the same thing. You go out a few more times. Maybe have intimacy, then get ghosted. Screw it, you say as you delete the dating apps, thinking that meeting someone in person is better anyway. You meet someone in real life. You realize you're just waiting for them to say that super fun sentence or seeing if they're just going to use you for intimacy. Your coldness and indifference scare them off, and you realize that you actually had feelings for them. That's about when you give up. Story 36. My kids, combined with my ex-husband, or why I'm single, is not a positive influence on our sons. The youngest has behavioral problems, and my oldest has anxiety because I've had to focus so much on the youngest. An example of the kid issue, my youngest said in front of a friend tonight, "That's why daddy left you," even though I was the one who filed for divorce and left him. It's that tendency to say things just to hurt someone that I don't want to expose another person to. Being a single mom is hard enough. I'd rather not deal with someone who can't handle this or is scared of kids. I'm sure there are some people out there who wouldn't mind, but they are few and far between. Many people are opting not to have kids and don't want to be with someone who already has them, and focusing on being a better person and parent. Someone has to. Story 37. I have the self-awareness that I would not make a good or reliable partner at this point in my life. This is due to years of apathy and self-destructive tendencies, coupled with a commitment avoidance that has become my default state. You know that feeling in school when you had a huge project due in a month and just thinking about starting it made you feel physically ill, panicked, and completely uninterested? That's the exact feeling I get when a woman I thought I was interested in shows any sign of interest back. Even the thought of responding to a text makes me feel carsick, as if I'd rather do anything else. It's not great. Story 38. I just don't see the point of dating, at least not yet. I feel my anxiety would have a field day wondering if anything the other person told me was genuine or if they were trustworthy, especially since you can't expect anyone to really tell you the truth. You can't go into anything with expectations nowadays. People are only going to do what they truly want and think what they want. And I just don't think I'm at a place where I can trust anyone. Gen Z doesn't seem to value relationships and happy endings don't exist, even though I'm still optimistic that I'll get mine one day. I blame the 5-year-old in me for that. I still go on dates when I'm asked, but I'm mainly trying to focus on myself. I want to get to know myself so that one day, maybe soon, maybe in 30 years, I'll truly be ready or healed whenever my Prince Charming chooses to show himself. Until then, I'll continue to take everything at face value and try my hardest to not project my fantasies or fall in love with the potential of others, whether they're friends, significant others, or family. Story 39. The dating pool is terrible. You can't really approach women like you used to. Now you pretty much have to swipe. You can still meet them the old-fashioned way in bars, but I've learned to stay away from those places due to past incidents. Most women in my area either want the princess treatment, a man to take care of them, but will then immediately say they don't need a man for anything. I'm short, and even though I make decent money, it's still too little for some of them, even though I make more than them. I don't have a house yet and live alone in an apartment. Well, they have roommates, but I'm the bum. My car isn't nice enough for them because it doesn't have a 6-figure price tag, even though they either don't drive or don't have a car for a variety of reasons. A new reason I got rejected last week was, "You're really my type, but I don't want to date a man with loans because that's for broke people." This was after she had just told me she lost her car because she couldn't afford the loan and has student loans, even though she dropped out of college in her 3rd year because it was too hard. Story 40. The problem with dating nowadays is that women have too many options, especially with online dating. It's like browse Netflix. Everyone wants perfection because there seems to be an endless number of choices. You spend 2 hours looking through the menu, and they get tired and uninterested before it's time for bed. It's the fear of commitment because there could always be something better coming up next. Even if you can keep a woman's attention long enough for 1 or 2 dates, you have to be perfect, or she can, and will, just move on. To be fair, women also have to sift through a lot of people who are only interested in intimacy, which must be exhausting. These theories only apply to people who are, let's say, a 7 or below. If you're an 8 or higher in attractiveness, you can easily bounce from partner to partner. Also, having a lot of money trumps all. That's my 2 cents. Story 41. My weight is most likely the reason. I've been on plenty of dating apps, and the only matches I get are from people who clearly just want to fool around or are trying to have fun before their parents arrange a marriage for them. I've always been plus size, and it's taken me years to be okay with that. I'm proud of the person I see in the mirror. I've tried diets and exercising, but nothing kept the weight off, so I'm just going to enjoy my life. I'm not gaining, but I'm also not losing much either, and I don't care. But other people sure do. Dating while fat is hard. It seems people are either fantasizing about you, thinking you're a weight loss project, or just an easy one. I would like to date, and I've really tried, but no one seems interested in taking me seriously, so I'm just chilling for now. Story 42. I haven't met the right person. I'm going into my sophomore year, and honestly, I feel a bit too young. I'm not the kind of person who wants to date as much as possible. Recently, someone liked me, and we talked a lot over text. I liked her too, but After we got back from break, things were awkward in class. Twice she broke off the relationship and then came back, blaming her mental health. Eventually, we started talking again and everything was amazing. We even planned on hanging out to make it official. To my surprise, after she said she had to study instead of chatting in class, she talked the entire time to someone else. When I texted her later, she ended the relationship. After a little while, she begged me to come back, but I said, heck no. Story 43. I feel like I'm not worthy of women. This is compounded by my fear of social incompetence and my fear of finding out just how bad of a person I might be if someone were to see me in nearly every moment of my life. I've also never had feelings for another person before. I desperately want to know what it's like to have a loving, supportive romantic relationship, but a part of me is skeptical that I'm even capable of having those feelings for someone else. I hate the idea of putting all this effort into getting to know each other, only for them to catch feelings for me when I can't reciprocate. Feels almost irresponsible and dishonest to put myself in the dating pool if I don't even know I'm capable of having romantic feelings for someone. Story 44. I'm not willing to punch down. While I may not be statuesque, I put a lot of work into my body over the past 2 years and I'm seeing results. Despite this, I struggle to get attention from women under 250 pounds. A lot of them also have bad teeth, no car, no career, and so on. I'm not asking for perfection, but as a successful developer who stays in shape, I'm not settling for someone who doesn't take care of themselves and their finances at all. I've gotten the numbers of some really cute and sweet girls, but they keep leaving me on red. One even messaged me first, only to leave me on red after one message. I've sought advice to see if I'm coming across as a creep, but no one seems to know what I'm doing wrong, if anything. I might be expecting too much too quickly since I haven't been single for that long, but it's hard not to feel defeated sometimes. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're gonna love this. Catch you in that video.